Here's a review of the 8-inch black hidden L shelf brackets. The first thing that you'll notice, or I guess not notice, is that the shelf brackets are kind of hard to find. Once you know where they're at, you can see that they're right here underneath, but they are super thin, so they stay very well hidden. So my configuration here is I have 3 rows of boards, and each row has 2 boards linked together. So they are 3-foot boards by 10 inches, and then I have the 8-inch shelf brackets. And this is all you see once the shelf brackets are hung with the wood on top. And then I have moved things over in front of it to where you can't even see them at all. Now you will notice that there's 2 different screws there. I'll get to that in a second. Hanging it can be a bit tricky, but here's where I had to link the 2 boards together. My wall wasn't perfectly level, so I had to bracket them down to make sure that they stayed at the same height, but I think it made them look great. So I have a total of 12 brackets there. And then I used 2 down here as well. I just wanted a small little shelf for my little fish lamp. So instead of just hanging 1 bracket and having it kind of dangle, I used 2 again there. Here's an up close of the shelf bracket. As I mentioned, these ones are 8 inches. And then the back plate is around 3.5 inches by 2 inches. Now, although I went with 10-inch boards, I went with 8-inch brackets because I didn't want the brackets to be sticking out even a little bit. And I had a feeling they would be sticking out if I got the 10 inches because there is that little thickness of the back plate. Now here's the screws that they come with. The longer screw is for going into the wall, and then the shorter screw is for going into the bottom up to your boards. Now the shorter screws work great, but the longer screws, unfortunately, they can only go into studs. Now you can't always have a shelf bracket where there's a stud, so I had to use drywall anchors. Now I'm sure I could have gotten by with the 50-pound ones, but I ended up going with the 75-pound drywall anchors just because I didn't want to have any problems. And these specifically said they were good for shelves. There's a little picture of them right there. So the drywall anchors came with their own screws and they happen to be silver. And that's why I have 2 different screws here, is because the one on the left is the drywall anchor screw. So I just painted it black afterwards. Just basic black paint, covered it right up. But obviously when you get really, really close, you can see that the screw on the right is the screw that it came with and the screw on the left is my anchor. So what I did is there's an anchor in that top left and an anchor in the bottom right. And then I just put the screws that it came with in the top right and top left, not necessarily going into studs, but they're there just to grip on as much as they can. And so you don't have a missing screw hole. And I didn't want to anchor every single hole because I knew I'd just be adding unnecessary big holes from the anchors. But I have nothing that heavy on here to begin with because I don't trust drywall anchors for something very heavy. But for this, it's very, very sturdy. Now the chances of you having a stud exactly where you need them for every bracket that you're going to use is very slim, so I definitely recommend using the drywall anchors. As you can see, I did break mine apart. I did use 2 for each 3-foot board just to be on the safe side so I didn't have any problems. I did contemplate using 3 brackets for each row with 1 directly in the middle where that split is, but then drilling the holes up through it would probably cause some problems splitting it right down the middle because the holes of the brackets going up are directly in the center of the brackets. Super happy with these shelves. I think it makes my office look amazing. Way better than the floating shelf option because I was able to use these thin, small boards with these slim brackets. If you guys are in need of these hidden brackets, definitely go with these. They work great, they look great. Here's the proof.